Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmettmuckles.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with Emmett Muckles. Today is the day that you were given that somebody else didn't have. As a matter of fact, recently I had a text message that says, my mom has passed on, which means her days on this plane are done. Yours are not. What are you going to do with them? This is part of being a billionaire. You're in this life as a spiritual being having a physical experience. Pauliana.
Yes, Emmett.
How are you?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm good. And you're here as an attorney, but you have a pivot that you feel you can add value to the lives of women in this day and age.
Absolutely. I mean, being the attorney is what brought me to multiple different situations. Some worked out well, some didn't work out so well. And I learned many lessons, and some of them were costly. I mean, let's just be honest.
That's life.
And yeah, that's right. That's right. But at the end, I came out through shining and thriving. And I don't say that to brag or boast. I say that to give hope and to give confidence and reassurance to young women out there.
So, Pauliana N Lara, you're a mom, you're a barrister, you're doing it on your own. What insight could you give young professional women in this climate who say, I want to have it all. I want the career. I want 2.5 kids. I want this guy, maybe not, because, you know, today it's just partnerships. People are having a different understanding of what relationships constitute. And I know that's one of the biggest things that you were talking about when we were having a conversation. You're like, you know, there are many women out here who want it all but feel so guilty or frustrated or just having anxiety about being a professional woman, being a family person. How did you come to decipher this and work this all out?
Wow, that's a lot to unpackage, and I'm going to try to address that all. First things first, it was not easy. It was not smooth. I had nobody to guide me. The greatest person I know is my mother, and she was a stay-at-home mom. I mean, that's just the way it was. I never had to worry about after school. I never had to worry about somebody else giving me a ride. And so I didn't necessarily have a role model in that arena. You know, my mom was it all, did it all. And she did it with calm and cool because she dedicated her life to raising my brother and I. You know, that's a whole other generation. My generation is, I got to do it all and get out in the workforce because I have dreams. I'm driven. I'm passionate. And I want to make something of myself and make an impact in society. And again, that's no dig to mothers who stay at home. Honest to God, it's a very, very difficult job. And right now, during this pandemic and the whole work from home thing is blaring. I mean, the difficulty of being a working from home mother is like right here. It's in your face because schools are closed.
Yeah.
So to the young women out there who are listening, I mean, I've got some takeaways and some good suggestions and tips that I learned through my own experience. I didn't read a book. I didn't, go to a webinar. These are things that just happened to me throughout my life.
Do you have a top
at some
five?
Point, I started doing it as a single mom.
So do you have a top five that you go to, some core values?
Absolutely. So the most important thing I would tell your audience, man or woman, because men are also starting to have a bigger role in raising a family and, being in the workforce, is have a better relationship with time. And I literally mean the clock. On the social media feeds, I see all the images and all the memes, and women are losing their minds. They're nursing, they're on their cell phone, and they're typing with one finger. And then, in the background, you see the pasta water boiling over. And it's like, it's nuts. And that's become heightened during this pandemic because, you used to be able to go away from home to do your job.
Yeah.
And now you're doing it at home with the kids and all the things that come with being at home. The dog and the gardener and the Uber Eats guy ringing your doorbell. So I would encourage the first thing for women to do is have a real understanding of the clock and be disciplined about it. If your job is 9 to 5, so really be on your job from 9 to 5. Be dedicated and be focused and be productive and get results. I see women when they're at work trying to do other things. And I used to be that lady. I was trying to find cute birthday invitations. And where could my daughter get a haircut that made her feel like a princess? Mind you, I had, 14 motions that were waiting to be written. I had a client calling. My boss wanted to know what happened at the hearing I went to. And I was creating that stress, that scatterbrainness because I couldn't be disciplined on time.
Gotcha.
And again, it's not easy. But once you do it, your stress level and your anxiety decreases to such a level where you feel good about yourself. And then once you're off at 5 o'clock, you're off. I always tell people I'm 9 to 5 and then 5 to 9. 5 to 9, I'm mom. Nothing is happening 5 to 9 that I need to, there's no crisis. I mean, my clients think there's a crisis.
Right.
Clients like dying to know, how big of an image do you think I should put on my business card? It's like, really? At 6:30 on a Tuesday? I can get to that tomorrow morning. Right now, I'm making googly eyes with Crayola and pasta with my son. Like, that's what I need to do. And that fulfills me.
So in addition to moms trying to do everything, I mean, like they're really busy now. We have a different mindset shift that I've noticed from the past, which is children are maturing later. And that's part of our society because they're really protected on some fronts. But with that, my generation and I believe some millennial generations, the parents said, look, here are your chores. Here's what you have to do. Here's the decorum. I see so many kids today who are 13, 14, 15. They can't even make themselves a sandwich. So is that impacting some moms too because they feel like I'm not being a good mom? I need to take care of my kids. But they need to have that independence so that they can work their structure as well. Is that an issue?
Absolutely. I think somewhere down the line, and I don't know when it certainly wasn't my generation, moms didn't want to be the bad guy anymore. And they wanted to be friends with their children.
Yeah.
And that becomes very difficult because your friend isn't going to tell you to clean the bathroom. And your friend isn't going to tell you to pick up the socks that have been on the floor for 3 days. And I see that with my friends, and I see that when I'm out at the store or out at the mall, you see moms not wanting to be the disciplinarian any longer because they want to be the cool mom. And I think the lines get very blurred. And you're right about the immaturity because the children aren't being asked to step up because mom's going to do it. But what really that does is just burdens the mom even more.
Exactly.
Because you're 14. Yeah, right. So the 14-year-old can pull his or her weight. And all that would do is take some of it off the mom.
So if you and I are going up in an elevator, and I see this beautiful dark-haired woman, make some small talk. I'll say like, hey, what's your name? You tell me your name. And I go, what do? You have 30 seconds to tell me what it is that you do.
I help young professional women run a career and a family with balance and joy.
So the people that you have come in contact with, what is their number one thing that you can whittle down and to make them go, oh, that's all I had to do?
Well, two things. Most of them struggle with guilt. Because if they can't do it all, something's wrong. They're not a good mom. They're not a good dentist. They're not capable of doing it all. And first, no guilt. I would say don't have guilt because what you're trying to do is amazing. And it's a huge, huge feat. So don't feel guilty. And the second thing that I would tell everybody, including myself 10 years ago, get help.
Oh, that's a good point. What help is available? You know, you're a single mom. You got like 2 or 3 children. They are from 7 to 16 years old. And you're just like, So, I mean, we used to have family. You know, everybody lived in the same neighborhood. So,
right.
But now that's off the mark. So where's the help to come from in this day and age?
So, true story. This is me because most professional women, you know, we wear a Wonder Woman costume under our clothes.
You got the bracelets too?
I'm sorry?
You got the Wonder Woman bracelets too?
They're at the dry cleaning. So we're like, I don't need help. I can do this. I can do it all. And the truth is, physically and technically you can, but emotionally, mentally, psychologically, it becomes too much. And so getting help is such a courageous and wise thing to do. And it will help your family and it will help you as well. I was very stubborn. I didn't want help. I was willing to drive 45 minutes in bad traffic, you know, making sure I didn't run anybody over to get to school on time to give my children a ride home that was 1 mile.
Did you?
And that's insane.
That is.
But I was a crazy lady because I thought if I don't pick up the kids after school, I'm a bad mom. And in 6th grade, mind you, I did this for 5 years. 6th grade, I was like, I can't keep doing this. I can't, you know, I'm driving 45 minutes to give my kids a 1 mile ride home because I didn't want them to walk because I'm crazy. And so I found a kids Uber. It's a service.
I know it is, but you know, that's just something that almost seems foreign to me, but I do get it. I live in a small town. The kids can basically, they can fall forward and be on the other side of town in no time, you know? So, you know, and that's a viable thing. You know, there are services now.
Yeah, it took years for me to accept help. And I think that's the problem. Because I looked at it as a failure. I looked at it as a inequity. I looked at it as a deficiency of me. Like, you should drive 45 minutes in traffic to give your kids a 1 mile ride home. Or having a friend drop my kids off. That was like bananas. And then at some point, I'm like, you know what? I see these people all the time. They've got kids too. Them giving my kids a ride home for 1 mile, wonderful. And it helped me stay at work, stay productive. And then when I got done at 4 o'clock, I went home and I was mom.
You know, one of the things that I remember, and I've seen it in my own life, is women have a coalition of women, which means they may have a friend or a neighbor that's their go-to. Girl, I need you to help me out with this. And they're like, bet, got you. You helped me out with the last one. Are women having less and less relationships like that? Because I don't see that, you know, after college, you know, these are my buddies in college, but then they get married and like they're 35 and they don't have that network anymore. How important is it to build or join that network?
I'm very hesitant on how to answer this, Emmett. But I will be honest and tell you that women can be the worst enemy of women. You know what I mean?
I do know. I do know what you mean.
And I hate to have to address this, but I do talk about this in my other talks and other events that I do. If a woman can't have another woman's back, no society, no male employer, no male coworker, no male neighbor is going to have your back. And I know we're laughing and it seems like a light subject, but
I know.
You need to know that if you ask for help from another woman, they're going to respond in kindness and in sincerity and in friendship. And that's a rare thing. So I'm very grateful and I'm very lucky and I am blessed. And I'm using that word in all of its value because I have that group.
Right.
And I know a lot of my friends who don't. And you can't find it online. Like you can't log on like letsbefriends.com because they have to be in your community and you have to like them. So that's one of the biggest issues is women are afraid to be judged by other women if they ask for help.
Yeah. So you were married, correct?
Correct.
And how was that relationship? Because I know I was married before too. And as soon as I got remarried, my ex-wife was like, I am done with you. She like took me off Facebook, blocked me on stuff. Half the time she wouldn't even answer my calls. What happens when you don't have that relationship to help you manage family in those situations?
So, Emmett, what you're talking about is very real.
Yeah.
The whole concept of, oh, I'm friends with my ex is rare. And so why this work-life balance becomes even more complicated is if you are a single mom and you don't have a cooperative or a good co-parent relationship with the father of your children, that gets to be very emotionally tolling on a woman.
Yeah.
So that also hinders how women react to asking for help because, again, there's the guilt. You know, well, if I had a husband, he'd be picking the kids up from school or he would take one to ballet and one to a soccer game. Yeah. So that's very subjective to each relationship. You know, some women have great co-parenting and the husband helping is tremendously valuable because he's not going to judge you. They're his kids too.
Right.
You know? And so I do have that. To be honest, I do have that. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
But some women don't have that option. Some women's husbands move to other states or cities, or the end of the marriage was so painful and nasty that, you know, literally it's just block that chunk of my life out and move on. So that's just subjective to every relationship. And if you can lean on your ex, by all means. And that again goes to get help. Get help.
So what are some of the talks that you've been or events that you've been focused upon?
So I'm just reaching out to young women entrepreneurs. Young women's groups. For me, young women lawyers, because that was me.
Yeah. And
the pressures of being a litigation attorney are a whole other animal. Oh. And so, you know, it's funny right now, I'm very good about that. I do nothing work related basically from 5 to 9 or 10. And because I'm a crazy person, I log back on at 10 o'clock because I gotta see what happened. I just need to know if I have a fire that I'm going to have to put out in the morning.
FOMO.
Yeah. But you want to hear something funny, Emmett? I get emails from young women lawyers at 10, 11, 2 in the morning.
Yeah, I believe
and
it.
I could just tell because first of all, I could tell by their bar number, their state bar number, that they're new. And that's an assumption I'm making, that they're young. But generally, I could tell. And that was me sending emails at 2 a.m. because I wanted to prove to my boss that I was just as qualified, just as capable, just as dedicated as my male counterparts.
You know, but we're also in a changing and diverse time. The things that we have been talking about is not negated. That was a double negative. Anyway, but the empowerment of women, the focus on the feminine is at the forefront today. How can that help women in this situation live an easier life? Does it put more pressure on what's already happening?
I think the first thing that comes to my mind is I think there's a lot more resources. You know, like, for example, Instagram. I'm on a lot of the working mommies, lawyer moms, all of those posts and all those hashtags. And I think seeing your struggle in 100 other women is comforting. And it lets you breathe and say, you know what? It's not just me. There's so many other women that are going through this thing right now. And to women's empowerment, I got to be honest, in the mornings when, before the kids are up and I'm, just spending some of my downtime, and I read some of those inspirational posts and quotes, as cheesy as it sounds, it really warms my heart. And I mean that. Like, just to read a woman saying, you got this today, or nothing is going to break you down today. I mean, I did some posts saying, like, ladies, it's Monday, get your boxing gloves on, or something like that, and the women's reactions and the comments and the likes just reminded me that I'm not the only one going through this, especially in this pandemic. So the women's empowerment helps because that there's so many resources as a working mom, as a working young woman, that you can go to, to get support or wisdom or guidance or advice or a laugh, just to say,
yeah,
that was cute. That was funny. I'm not in this thing alone.
So you're a litigation lawyer. I don't even know what that means. What is
that? Means I go to court.
I know you go to court, but most...
Well, no. Litigation means you are in court. Some attorneys are transactional, where they just review documents. They never go to court. Do you see the distinction? So if you're a transactional attorney, you just sit and review contracts, or you negotiate deals, or you draft documents. I go to court at least every day of the week.
So the reason I ask, because I only know two types, well, maybe four types of lawyers. The most prevalent ones are prosecuting attorney and defending attorney.
So that's in the criminal world only.
So what is it? What realm do you rely?
I'm a civil litigation attorney. So what the prosecutors and the defense counsel that you're talking about, it's whether people go to jail or not, or whether they get something on their criminal record. I help people when there's a monetary dispute. Civil is money, criminal is jail. Like, just to boil it down.
So like class action lawsuits.
Time or an offense, you're getting a criminal lawyer who is going to be your defense counsel.
So like class action lawsuits, litigation between companies, or litigation between person and companies, things like that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Gotcha now. Well,
see, now this is turning into a little law lesson.
No, I mean, like, people need to understand what's out there. What you do, how many people would know that? How many basic people would know?
Yeah, very few. I mean, very few. But if I can just share a 30-second funny story. Most hearings are at 8:30 in the morning. And now everything is on Zoom. My daughter's or court, telephonic appearance. My daughter's class starts at 8:20 and my son starts at 9. And we're all connected. We all have our own devices, our technology. And 2 weeks ago, we had a power outage at 8:30.
Oh my God. You need a Tesla Powerwall.
Literally, it was, gosh, what in the world is happening? And that's a very real thing of a work from home mother pandemic situation.
Yeah. I mean, I have a I don't have a new foundation, but I think my wife does, and many other people have a newfound understanding of what teachers function as.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm surprised it's not on the ballot for teachers to get like a 200% increase just because of, once you sit with your kids, and things have changed over the years, that the approach and methodology with which they teach are different. Math. Because my daughter is sitting here like, we have to go through all these steps. I'm like, wait a minute, just do this, carry the one, there's your answer. She's like, no, I can't do it that way. I'm like,
oh, Emmett, I love that you said that, because I feel like I learned math in the Stone Ages with like the dinosaurs or something, because I'm telling my kids, this is how you do it. And she's like, no, that's not what Mrs. Blueberry taught us. And I'm like, she doesn't know it.
Yeah, but and for me, I actually did a race. I had a problem that my daughter had already solved.
Oh, okay.
And I said, here, I want you to write a big number down, and I'm going to do the same thing, and let's see who gets it done faster. I knocked it out in like 15 seconds. She was still working on it like 2 minutes later. And she knew but she knew the steps, but she was just going through this. And that's what some of the things that I'm seeing in society now, you're talking about the pressures that come up, is that we have some modalities that have worked in the past, but there's a new mindset that said you can't think the way we used to anymore. You have to adapt this new, it may be more efficient, but it may not be. So I understand what a lot of women are going through. And I'm not going to even say women. I'm going to say single parents.
Can we touch on that?
I was going to.
I call a lot of opposing counsel, attorneys on the other side. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them are still men, which is fine. And they're still working from home. Mm-hmm. And I got to be honest, I'm not sensing, or they're not sharing, the stress of being a working from home dad.
No, let me be clear when I say working from home single dad. It's much lower incidence in America because typically when there's a separation, the children, it's almost immediate. They go with the mom, unless. Yeah. But, and there's a small small minority that are men who are doing the same thing. Does some of this stuff apply to them as well?
Oh, absolutely. I remember one of the first people that I spoke to about speaking at their event, and it was a gentleman, and he said, Pauliana, a lot of the points that you make equally apply to men. And I said, 100%. Because it's more about time management and about your own mental health. I had physical manifestations that I experienced because of all the stress that I was taking. And I'm over all of it, thank goodness. And it ended up just fine for me. But stress doesn't understand, gender.
No, it doesn't.
Right. And neither does the pandemic. And, money and your clients and your career and your kids' childhood and their future, all of that, it equally applies. I was just coming from it as my personal experience and how me as a single working mom who happens to be in a high stress job dealt with it.
Yeah.
But I think it applies absolutely 100% across the board to men too. And we are seeing that. The only point I was making is, when I talk to these attorneys on the phone, and I know they're married and they have children because it just comes up, I yet have to hear one of them say they're losing their mind.
Well,
and it could just be.
That's because we won't. We won't.
That's because what?
We won't.
That's what I was just to say? And it could be that they're sitting there pulling their hair out, but they're not going to share that.
Nope.
But Emmett, some women are that way too. That was the whole Wonder Woman comment I was making. And I'm encouraging women to have that conversation. Tell people, man, it's tough, and that opens up the conversation. Well, have you tried this? There's a great program. There's a great Zoom after school. If you don't start the conversation, it stays in you and it just bubbles and boils and it will break you.
I want to get your take on this. People being in this COVID situation, they're stressed out. How many people, or even yourself, have suffered depression because you're stressed out, you don't see an end in sight? I mean, there's a myriad of reasons why it comes on, depression. But have you come across anyone or yourself who's began down that spiral?
I'm going to answer that in two parts. The first is yes, for me personally. I'm generally an optimistic, hopeful, happy, positive person. 99% of the time. That's just who I am. I'm happy. Life is good. I have much to be grateful for. And I constantly play that tape in my head. Be grateful, because I have much to be grateful for. But once this pandemic didn't go away in 2 weeks and we weren't going to go to church on Easter and school started shutting down, it became a very dark place.
Yeah.
And for me, and, don't forget, the kids feed off of you. So I didn't believe it was wise for me to share that dark place with my children because they were going through their own crud. What do you mean we're not going back to school? My son never thought he would want to go back to school because when it's time to go to school, nobody wants to go to school. Right. And now he's like, Mom, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I miss school. And so if my response to him was, honey, it doesn't look good, it's bad, it's scary, how would that impact him?
Yeah.
So, and the second point I want to make is I don't know anybody personally who has had to seek help because of depression, but I know 3 moms whose children have had to seek therapy.
Yeah.
And that to me was heartbreaking. It really was. I take that very, very seriously. And these are like 8th grade and under.
Yeah. Can you hold for a second?
And sure.
I got some issues here.
Don't we all?
All right, there we go. Gonna have some editing to do here. Will I be able to use the video as well?
Can you say that again?
Will I be able to use this video as well?
I didn't do my eyeliner for nothing.
You're fine. Don't worry about it.
No, I'm saying, yes, I imagine you were good.
I mean, that's a great taper you got there.
What?
It's a great taper.
Thank God it's not zoomed in because, I haven't gotten nails done. I haven't gotten eyebrows done. I haven't gotten anything done.
It's all right. You look fine.
Thank you, sir.
3, 2, 1. So what do you got coming up in 2021? What's your objective for 2021?
Oh, my God. Emmett, and I rarely say God, but, I've been wanting to be a public speaker for years. And I like people. I get a thrill and I get a rush and I really love being in front of people, especially if I can help them. And 2020 was my year to kick this thing off. Mind you, I forgot that I should take into account that there may be a global pandemic. Like, how foolish of me. I didn't prepare for that. So 2020 and this pandemic, what I got out of it was really preparing to blow this thing up and to reach as many women as I can. Right now, I'm trying to hit up all sorts of different groups to see what they've got coming up. all the events, all the conferences, most of them have been canceled.
Yeah.
And some, very few percentage have gone virtual. And I got to be honest, human connection is so, so important. And it's great to have Zoom, but being in a room with women and seeing their reaction and just their facial expressions, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Good.
So I want this thing to be over. I want to get out there. I want to be in groups, in small groups, in seminars, in events, in conferences, even one-on-one coaching. I've had people call me and say, look, I just need to talk. And I'm not a therapist. I'm not licensed in any sense, but I'm a living example of somebody who went through some very trying times. So if a woman just wants to call and reach out and say, I can talk to you because you went through this, and they say it's easier to talk to a stranger.
Yeah.
I'm that person.
It is.
No, I know. I'm not, I can't judge, and I won't judge because that was me.
Right. So how can somebody find you if there's someone who says she has some insight and some wisdom that I could benefit from? How can they find you?
Emmett, shouldn't you be plugging me?
That's what I'm saying.
Paulianalara.com. I mean, the number on the website literally rings, and I will answer. I don't have an answering service. I'm not fancy pants enough to have an assistant. The number on my website is me. You can reach out. You can email. People can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And like I said, if people just want to send an email saying, look, I'm going through a really hard time. I've got 3 kids. I mean, I know people who have 6 kids and hair on their head.
I don't.
Really good wig. I don't know what it is, but I've got 2. And there were times when I was like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And I figured it out. And I loved every minute of it, because if it wasn't for those trying times, I wouldn't have the strength that I do now.
Well, awesome. What about Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff? How can they find you there?
I'm on Facebook, Pauliana Lara, and on Instagram, Pauliana Lara. Very simple. The spelling is Pauliana, because some people don't know how to spell it, and some people think it's Paulina, and it's not Paulina. But I'm out there. Again, PaulianaLara.com.
All right. I want to thank you so much for being on the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast.
My absolute pleasure, Emmett. It was great fun, and I really, really enjoy your energy. I really do.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, you are a billionaire. Remember, you are a billionaire. You want to know when it started? It was probably some night your mom and dad, they had a couple drinks. They got a little busy. And he shared some of his biological information with her. She soaked that baby up. 2 became 4, 4 became 8, 8 became 16 for 30 days. At the 30-day mark, you were over 1 billion cells, and you hadn't even came out your mama. See what I'm saying? You have value already, and you weren't on the planet. Since then, you've gone to be a trillionaire just in your gut flora alone. Here's what I need you to do, though. We are human beings. I'm getting to what you need to do. Slow your roll. We are people under the sun because it gives us our color. No matter if you say you're white, black, Puerto Rican, whatever it is, we all have a color because we are not translucent. We are made in the image of man. And here's where the issues come. The being part. This does not have a manual, but they've given us some clues. Treat others like you want to be treated. Stick to your word. And mind your damn business. Stay in your lane. If you stay in your lane, that's how you win the race. Because if you get into a race and you go out your lane, you're disqualified. At the end of the day, when you get in the shower and get back out, drop your towel, be as naked as you can in the God body that you were given, walk up to the mirror and appreciate all that is you. Till next time, love you all. Peace.